Bing! We're live. It's Sam and Paolo. We are going to look at some async voter code. So yeah, 2-3 weeks ago, we had a chat. Yeah, we went all the way through. I think, yeah, you were working out very clearly, Paolo, how some of the code operations were unnecessary, but you were going to then link it up so that we would like submit the code, submit the incoming data to the using the new client, the RESTful client, as well as storing it in the Redis database, Redis cache.
Yes. So I'm actually looking at some 3 to few weeks old notes, so I'm not totally on top of it myself, but I'm gonna kind of read through this notes document I wrote and.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen? But so do you think that you actually wrote some new code since the last?
Yes, I actually did, but I wanted to just introduce what I've done with some reasoning, and I don't remember the reasoning 100%, so I'm looking at my notes just to extract the reasoning. Basically, remember last time, I think, or maybe a couple of times ago, I was uncomfortable about that story size parameter and how the server-side code, the API code, kind of hinted as it meaning that whether the story is still active or not. So story, when size is set to 1, it's considered active, and when size is not equal to 1, it's considered resolved or.
I remember discussing it at length. Yes.
And what we ended up doing, we knew that it was just, okay, let's remove this place where the code clearly, explicitly treats the size parameter as an indication of the story being active or not. So I was happy, meaning, okay, well, at least it's not explicitly saying, but basically my claim was, okay, if size means that, then it should be a Boolean, and it should not be settable on story creation.
Right.
And it should not be, I guess, changed more than once, or votes should not be allowed in after you reveal the story. But so I was still a little stuck in the decisions we had made, which were not very clear, because the alternative interpretation of size parameter, and this is what the conclusion is. I think there is some underlying confusion in the API implementation, in that one parameter, size, is kind of being used for 2 different purposes.
Yes.
One is a Boolean revealed kind of flag, which should not be settable to anything but false when story is created, and should be explicitly set to true by revealing the votes. And then once the votes have been revealed, probably the database should not accept, the API should not accept further votes coming in.
Well, I just say, I mean, I think the thing about when we reason at length about any of these things, that's the danger is that we don't have, we're not doing it from a place of coherent user stories or scenarios about the way that things are being, operated. So it's kind of like we're saying, well, I think it should be used in this way versus that way. I think what we, it's all up for debate, right?
Yeah, no, for the moment, all I'm claiming is that it would be important to have the DB and the API have a robust concept of reveal flag, a Boolean, because this is how we implemented it. People vote secretly, and then votes are revealed, and we send a size equal.
Right. But I don't, from my point of view, I don't know that the API has to kind of like slavishly follow the way that in the same way, like, if you're just like
it would be nice for people examining the database to know what votes have been revealed, because okay, you can allow votes to come in later, but when you go and look at statistics,
I think maybe so, but it feels like we're doing it. It feels very speculative, one way or the other. And I think that from my point of view, like the way that I like to go with the coding or whatever is I like to, you know, come back to a set of user stories and get coherency there, and then drive through to like it's like we yeah the
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're saying. Well, what I'm saying simply is this size parameter is confusing because it's being used for, it's a single parameter, and then there's two things that somehow client or server.
yeah, and I basically agree with you. I basically agree with you. So, you know, I mean, but I think like exactly what the way to fix it and so on, whatever. I think, you know, we need to leave it aside for the moment.
Yeah, but we don't have a button to do anything after the votes have been revealed. So the flow of what happens with the story inevitably is somebody creates a story, people vote even multiple times, and their last vote overrides their previous vote, and then votes are revealed. No more votes are accepted, and that's it. End of the story. No, quite literally. I mean, that's how the story evolves. So if that's the use we make of it, then our code should kind of match that.
Right, but I think that we at the moment, not many people are using the system at all. I think you've got a model in your mind of the way that they might use it. The way that they might use it might evolve. But
I'm saying the Slack interface is such that the lifetime of a story begins when somebody issues a voter command with a title.
Right. But I mean, but the point is that we could be supporting like reopening votes on the same things or this and that. It's like I think the specification of how the whole system works. Yeah, you've seen us run some votes, and there is like we can talk about properties of a typical vote and this, that, and the other. All of that might change in the future. At the moment, almost nobody is using this system, so it's kind of
fair enough. But I mean, this is good brainstorming chat. So hope you don't get annoyed by me insisting with my point. I just saying that the use that we make of the API through the Slack command and the API and the database should be consistent. Now, it's not rocket science, and it can be expanded in any future direction. And I agree, we could reopen the stories, allow whatever, anything can be done. And I would think, okay, well, before we do that, because we're not planning really to add amazing features right now. All we're trying to do is we're trying to integrate the Slack command with the API.
Yes.
And all I'm suggesting is, okay, well, the Slack command implementation kind of dictates what use we are going to have of the API. That we're going to create a story, then people are going to vote and maybe override the previous hidden vote, and then somebody's going to reveal it, and then that's it. So does this match what the API expects in terms of usage? Yeah, I mean, there's this issue with size that the API, by reading its comments, it seems that it's treating as an indication of story being active. But then, if so, it should not offer the API the flexibility that it gives, suggesting that that may not be its interpretation. For example, allowing you to set a size value at story creation, which doesn't really make sense, not consistent with its meaning of story being active, because when you create a story, then it is active until somebody reveals the votes. And so that all I'm saying is, apart from this size slight incoherence,
yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. And the thing that's challenging for me is like there was the person who was originally working on this, Joao, who really wanted to add this, and I argued strongly against adding it. And then I finally said, "Oh, whatever, okay, just put it in there," because it was so exhausting. Like, you know, like I was like, "Okay, fair enough, just do it." I agree with you. Like that, we want the API to be consistent. 2-3 weeks ago, we did discuss and I think and agree it. So I'm just ready to,
basically
move on from that. And the thing again, it just comes back to I really want to get to, can we actually connect them so that they talk to each other? And
yes.
let's do that, and then let's change the API afterwards. I'm all for changing the API for consistency for people to use it and whatsoever. I'm just desperate to see if we can actually connect them up and actually get the data to move around in the way that we hope that it will, because we might find that it doesn't, and then it's all academic. You know what I mean?
I feel your urgency, so I won't. Fair enough. Okay, so my whole reasoning about size and the conclusion was, okay, anyways, in the current usage of the Slack command code, we create a story setting size to 1, and when we resolve a story, we set size to 3 or something. So that's fine. We still treat it as, because there's no way, unless everybody votes the same, there's no way to automatically kind of resolve a size that reflects the consensus, if that's the second interpretation of size. So currently the code just sets size to 3, I think, when it's resolved, and initialize size to 1 when it's created. So it's
you're talking about the code. Is there, I mean, I guess what the other thing that I find challenging is having the discussion in the absence of looking at the specific code. Like there's maybe a shortcoming on my part, but so I'm desperately trying to like pull up all the code that I currently have. But you're mentioning now some code, it sets the thing to. Can you share your screen and show me the code that we're talking about?
Okay, sharing screen 1 should be here. So I think this is the AsyncVoter API. Now let me. Slack command, open with code.
You're using Visual Studio Code.
I just moved to that. I'm just learning. So where should I look? Help me find what I'm looking for.
So in here, I think it's in like asyncvoter.js. Yeah, that one that you just found.
Okay. So
yeah,
in here, there's a little preliminary thing, but I just want to show you some code so that I calm you down.
Oh yeah. So this is saying here, add story to MongoDB.
So okay, there is the main issues that I had to think about here was, okay, so when we create a story in MongoDB, we're gonna get back a user Mongo ID, UID, which is, we need to associate that with the Redis story.
Right. So that we can talk about it afterwards. But that's interesting. You put there add story to MongoDB, but that method add story to MongoDB is talking to the REST API.
Yes, I think it's doing both. So yes, if we just want to look at the add story to MongoDB, which is the point was we can do it kind of 2 ways. The way I did it is the way we had agreed that it should be done first, is with minimal intervention. So I do all the Redis stuff, like I do repository delete, and then inside it repository set, and then when we send the response, we're all done with Redis. I add the story to MongoDB, so I don't interfere with the flux. You know, just return null or something, and it wouldn't disrupt at all. So we can look at what I do here. So add story to MongoDB. I pass it the text and the channel ID and the user ID. And here, text, channel ID, user ID, creates a new story with the text, channel ID, user ID. I mean, it creates an object like that. Then this is Mongo UID key. Okay, this is the Redis key that we use to associate the Mongo UID that we're going to get back with the story that we just created. So the story in the Redis repository, I think, are referenced by channel ID plus dash plus the full text, which could include the URL, which is what you type after command, after vote. And so this identifies the story, and we prefix a MongoUID dash and create a key which is associated with this story.
So I guess, Paolo, I get to sort of stop you there and kind of, I get the feeling that you're going to take me through, like line by line, your code.
Okay, not yet.
But hold on. I mean, it's really confusing for me that, I don't know, I'm like, there's a lot of things that I'm really confused about. I mean, what I would love to see, like, it seems like you've done some coding and there's some changes. What would make things so much easier for me is if we had a pull request, and then I could like scan very quickly and fast and see the overall pattern of it. And I get the feeling like it's gonna, I don't know, forgive me if I'm coming across as impatient, but is there like the code you have, can we see the changes that you have in Git? And is that code being pushed up to
but you can help me with this part quite easily.
So maybe we could do that first and then come back to because the if we have it up there, it means that while you're showing one thing, I can kind of quickly on my side navigate it all around. It's like a parallel.
That's my bad. As you know, I'm still not really confident with Git. So.
Oh, no problem. But that's exactly what we should, you know, build your confidence in for this. Yeah. So you have the directory that you've been working in.
Okay, it's this one here, the Slack command. Can I go with a different, or with the command prompt, Windows command prompt, or?
I think that's fine for the time being. So you're in there now. So you had that. So if you do git status.
Actually, I have a git bash window. That's.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Okay, I mean, so how do I go to F like this? Yes. AsyncVoter. Okay, so now we have set up.
Okay, so then we see that we're on a branch there that says 57 store data in remote API. So we're on the branch. And if you do git status now, so there are some changes that you've made. So what you could do here is that if it was me, the commands that I would enter to get this up onto the branch would be first to do git add dot like this. And that's because we've got at least one new file there. It's the package lock.json.
Sorry, git add?
And then a period, like a full stop. It just means git add everything in the current directory.
Okay.
And hit return. Yep. And then I would do git commit -am, like connecting Slack command to remote API, like this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. And then I would do git push origin and git push, and then 57, and then hit tab. On our systems, usually that will come. There you go, and then hit return. So that will push all of the changes that you've made onto the remote branch. So now, if you want to open the pull request, you can navigate and username and things there.
Okay, let me try that. VR Garage is my GitHub name.
Mm-hmm.
Password. No. Open SSH. But isn't that the one I just typed?
I think it's your GitHub password for the VR Garage.
Oh, it's not my SSL open SSH.
I don't think it's OpenSSH password. I think it's just the password for the VR.
I like it because I typed in the SSL password.
Okay. So yeah,
maybe, authentication failed.
Yeah, so maybe do it again, but instead of the SSL password, I think it's just your GitHub user password.
Okay, I'm really not sure what that is at the moment. I'll have to look for it.
So yeah, you can do well if you just go to we need to go to GitHub anyway to open the pull request. But if you go to github.com, and I mean I have all of my passwords stored in stuff like LastPass or what have you, where I can look them up. But
this is an essential step. Otherwise, you don't get it.
Yeah, otherwise it stays on your computer and we don't get it anywhere else.
Right.
But
go to github.com. Am I logged in right now?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, click on the top right. There's a drop down at the top right corner. Yeah, it says you're signed in as VR Garage. I mean, it's not gonna. You can reset your password from there.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's why.
You don't remember that. You didn't store the VR Garage GitHub password anywhere.
Not. I don't have a reliable document where all my passwords are.
No.
So I can maybe. How do I edit my password?
But you previously. I mean, didn't we? I thought we also tried to get you set up with SS, because one thing is like, you know, for SS, you can in principle get around this step. Like some people like it. I don't know that whenever they commit code, they have to type their password in every time. I don't know, they seem to like it. Personally, I never want to have my password in. I have it set up with SSH keys locally, so I
thought I did it. And so you see here, enter passphrase for this SSH key, which I did. Right. And then my identity added. So I thought that was what was required. I GitHub with this, and I thought I didn't have to type it in every time, which I still do, but I remembered this one.
Yeah. That's. I mean, there's a passphrase for that thing, identity edit. But if you scroll down, and we did that thing, and it said fatal. Oh, I tell you the other thing. What we could do here. Come back onto the do git space remote -v, and let's see, maybe it's trying to use HTTP authentication. So yeah, so you've got at the moment you've got the origin. So I would do like git remote remove origin like this, and then what is this? AsyncVoter Slack command. Now somewhere, where's am I looking at the right thing? Usually if I was on the, I'm not in a subdirectory here, am I? Like clone order, there we go, they've hidden it behind a button. Here we go. Yeah, so I think did you remove that? Great. Let me copy that over here. So here, I think what you want to do is git remote add origin this.
Remote add origin.
And then this thing that, you know, you can type that out. It's kind of a little long, but you can. They've got it set up on GitHub, so it's very easy to copy and paste it.
Yeah, well,
you're going for it.
AsyncVoter API. What's the last bit there?
It's --command.git.
Okay, I'll hit return. That's right.
Yeah, so now you could try and do the git push origin 57 again.
Like this.
Yeah. And so I think Maybe it's just a gamble. Maybe it will work or maybe it won't. But now, instead of doing it over HTTPS, there we go. Yeah, it worked. Yeah, so now it's doing it over the SSH, so you won't have to type the password in, and that's a much better setup for you, I think. Cool. So then now, if you want, so now if you go back to GitHub.com.
Yes.
And I put the link in, but you want to navigate to the AsyncVoter Slack command repo, which not the API client there.
So it's not even here.
No, well, this is because this is showing repositories that are yours, but you're working against the main repo. But I put if you go to the Hangout, I put the link to the repo that you want to go to in the group chat in the Hangout.
Here.
But yeah, and that is in fact the right place. Yeah, there. So now you can see actually it tells you there, it says your recently pushed branches, and it's saying like you pushed a branch. So there's a green button there that says compare and pull request. You can see yeah, exactly. And then so now we can open up, so that there you could put, I mean, just put fixes and then hash 57 in not in the leave the that's fine as the
right here.
So, yeah, but in there, just put like fixes. And hash symbol and then 57. That's great. And then, yeah, we have like a F at the beginning of the title that was accidentally introduced when you started typing fixes in the title. Yeah, and then create pull request is a green button at the bottom right. And yeah, so that's great. So now if you look at my screen for a minute, then I can come in here and yeah, I get this nice overview of everything that you changed like this. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we've got there, I can see we've got that. We've got this change here, which is the add story to MongoDB, and then send reveal to MongoDB, add vote to MongoDB. Yep. The client is passed in. Okay. Yeah. All right. But so then, yeah, I mean, I probably have to go really, but I guess we come back to this, the code that you were showing me here. I guess this is all, did you kind of ran this and it worked?
No.
The immediate thing that's strange to me is that we've called it add story to MongoDB because it seems to me like we're sending some data over the API and we're kind of specifically doing that because we're saying, okay, API, it's your responsibility to do, you store it wherever you want, but we're kind of writing in here an implementation detail of something that's on the other side of the API. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yes. And yeah. Call it. It's just add story to remote API.
Okay, yeah. Which we can easily change later. That's fine. But then so this Mongo.
Remote API.
And so here, then this creates the story, and then we've got the repository that we're talking about here. This is the Redis repository. What is the repository here?
Yeah, basically we create a new story, and then after we create a new story through the API, we get back this response, which includes the new UID.
Right.
Now, we get an error in the creation of the story, then that UID could actually be alive in the database if one had created a story with the same name and the same channel.
Right.
So in that case, I just clear that to avoid confusion of having actually failed to write the new story to the API, but having a hanging Redis key with the same key still there.
Okay.
So I delete it. If we fail, then I just rewrite it. I set it
So, so this is the ID here that's being returned from the remote API, and then we're just sort of okay, I got it right. So this is we're kind of saying, okay, if I want to look up for, because this is the not quite uniquely, but this is how we specify the story that we're voting on. So then you've prefixed it with a tag, and then so if we want to add a vote, then we can here look up. We get this. We can look up the thing, and then we can. Well, I guess the idea will be that. So we do get. We pull out the
story ID.
The ID. So that's going to be the story ID there, and then so then we can create a vote on the right story ID with the right. Yeah, great. And then finally, there's a send reveal, and that updates the story to set the size, which is here.
I set it to 4 so that it's not 1, 2, or 3, which are the valid votes, which indicates it's no longer active, but it's not referring to a specific vote.
Right. I mean that's the weird thing there for me is like when the reveal takes place, what should happen is that the story size should be set to then like whatever the like say everybody voted for 2.
Yes. I guess if all the participants voted the same, then even at this point, when we reveal the story, we could set size to that value. But since we initialize it to 1, a value of 1 would mean we don't even know if it's active or not.
Right.
So that's why I started by saying this size is the only parameter confusion in really what we're trying to do. I would like to.
Yeah. I mean, it would make more sense to me for example, the story would, when we opened it by default, that it had a size of -1 because no one had voted on it yet. And then,
well, actually, maybe I start with 0.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is that there are other interpretations, like 0 can be interpreted that it was like a chore or anyway, but all those things, I mean, those can all be changed independently. And so then we have this LinkedIn, and great. But so this all looks like, in principle, this could show us the kind of round trip. But so when you run it at the moment, it kind of encounters a problem?
No, I can't run this. I don't think I can run the Slack command part. Can I?
Well, in principle, that you can, but it is this really painfully convoluted setup.
Yes. I try to keep it simple in terms of changes. Like, so as you can see, I separated all this new code into these functions, which are easily to comment out. And so I guess, if you had more time, we could try it from your end now that you have access to it, and try and put it in there in the AsyncVoter Slack command.
Yeah, I mean, what I could do is I could take this and I could deploy it to staging.
Yes, and then we could try
which I guess I might as well just do. And even if we don't have time to do that now, then we can at least see it come up with an error, and you can like hit it. I mean, I think we also set it up so that you can deploy to staging? That would be good, wouldn't it? I thought we maybe.
Yeah, but I'm still really a beginner, even after your today's demonstration of advanced usage of Git stuff.
Right. So maybe watch here. So here I've now got that branch. Now see, I've got some other remote things. So we could get you. So you could be doing. I mean, I'll give you the command for this. So you could be doing git remote add Azure staging, and then this Docker thing here. This command would add Azure staging. So now I can do git push here Azure staging, and then I can go on.
Shall I do that command that you've just sent me? Git remote add Azure staging.
Yeah, you could do that on the git thing where we
from the AsyncVoter Slack command branch. Yeah. Okay, I've done it.
Great. So I've just stashed that there. I'm going to do npm here. npm install. And if the package.lock was, I shouldn't have to do this really, but go here. But anyway, I shouldn't need to be on the branch to do this, but so then I do git push Azure staging, and I want to say 57. Why is that not completing for me? Well, I'm gonna. Well, I just did check out to 57 there. Oh, really? The following contracts. Okay, maybe I have the package lock. Okay. All right, I'm on the branch. I shouldn't need to be on the branch, but now it lets me. Okay, I don't know, wouldn't complete. Here we go. So now, there we go. So I've done this command. So in principle, if we've got the permission set up for you with Azure, you should also be able to do this push operation here. You don't have to run this now, and probably now that I've pushed it, maybe we should have tried before I pushed it, but
now it's on the Azure staging, so you can what? Open a shell on that.
Yes. Well, so now, because that's on the staging, we can go like into the bot test channel on Slack. It always goes to the wrong place. Come back here. Come on. There we go. And here we could do /voter staging. Say test. And oh, yeah, there we go. Let's say simple. So then we could go and look at, now we could look at where are we supposed to be sending it to, like in the code that we've got at the moment. So we're, doing this.
It's in index.
Index, right. Yeah. So here, so we're, yeah, at the moment, so there, I guess it's going to be defaulting to stick it onto this API endpoint.
Yep.
And we could kind of go there, and I think we have to do like /stories.
Yes, I think so.
And then we can see here, oh, there we go. Interesting. But nothing, so
right now,
I don't see any, yeah, it doesn't look like there's any new stuff just created there. I guess it's conceivable they might have like a limit on the number of stories that gets returned there. I'm not aware of one, but yeah. So I guess, I mean, the thing to look at really is to look at the logs of this. So then we want to do history, SSH. I want, this one. We do like docu end there, and I could do logs, and then I have to do app list. This is specific to docu, not Git. But so now we have, so we've got AsyncVoter staging. So what we would like to see is the logs for AsyncVoter staging. So at the very least, yeah. It doesn't, it seems to be, we've pushed that code. We seem to be able to, the staging server is still running. We're not seeing any errors in the AsyncVoter staging logs.
Is that the Slack command code?
Yeah, the Slack command code. So this is where the API is running the elements. These are the Slack ones, we've got the staging, we've got the production. So it looks like it certainly hasn't broken the existing flow, which is certainly what we hoped. But we're not seeing, I guess I could look at I don't know that the logs of here are going to be any interesting. And probably for the staging thing, we should be, again, nothing crazy there. I mean, what we should be doing really for the production thing is setting the AsyncVoter API path so that it points to like the test instance. So for here, oh gosh, what does this one do? This is like config set. We do that, and then we say this is equal to, and then we have to go and get, is it going to be the API test? Let's take, is that what we called it? Is that the right name for it? And you can, come on. Okay, ooh.
Okay, oops.
So we've got lots and lots of things there from all the testing stuff. We can set that. That will restart async voter staging. I can run another test there. Voter staging Sam and Paolo testing. And that's still.
Where's the new vote?
But so it certainly seems like this is in a position to give us all of the. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's not coming through at the moment.
Yeah, so I think you're gonna go now, and we should try again next week. And in the meantime, I can look at the code again just to try and see if there's any critical things. Maybe add a few. Can I add console log?
Yeah, I think it would be good to have some logging in there, definitely.
Yeah, so we can just follow it through some logging, and then we can try again running it next week. And hopefully we'll quickly. There's not much there, so we'll see if the.
Yeah, and I guess the way that we have it set up at the moment, if there were errors at the moment, they would just
handle error. Yeah, we should.
They would be, so at least if we could like log them, then we can kind of see where it's going wrong. Great, good stuff, Paolo.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get it working, which is.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, have a great weekend, and I'll maybe see you on Thursday for the deep learning.
Yes, you will. So I'll see you next week. You too have a great weekend, and nice chatting to you, Sam.
Bye for now. Take care, Paolo.
Bye.